Hi there guys, Metal Crusader here. So, today there will be another collection update, I guess. Not really a collection update, as the previous video also wasn't truly a collection update. It's just, well, I decided to end those favorite mainstream underground things and just talk a bit about the music that I own and a bit about the collections. So it's just a bit of an assorted bunch of records that I haven't talked about yet. So, let's start right away without further ado. And the first release I'm going to talk about today is, I actually believe this came this month. It's from Bardd. It's The Last Rain, one of my favorite releases from last year too. Here you go. Actually, I had some trouble with this release because when it arrived, it came with the inside thing of the CD, the teeth, if you want to call it that way, broken, and I actually had to replace it right away. So it's no longer the original part there, which is a bit of an annoyance to me. Now, this release, like I mentioned, came out last year, 2019, and it was released through Northern Silence Productions. Now, this is the typical release you would expect from Northern Silence Productions. The band hails from Switzerland, and this is their second full-length. For a band with such a little name as Bardd have, it's an amazing, amazing release. Look, it's incredibly atmospheric, filled with leads, filled with... I guess we can call it folky. That's not really what they're aiming to do, or probably not the best way to describe it, but I guess we can call it that way. A lot of acoustic or even classic guitar present in the release, and there is a constant beauty on this release where it goes from these like really deep meditative moments which almost take you to an introspective state, and then those moments come crashing down with intensity and fury provided throughout the release by the more metal part. So it's almost as Zen metal release, let's leave it there. It actually is, or I believe, in my personal opinion, it is atmospheric black metal. It has incredible clean vocals throughout the release, and I guess I could say the style is lost somewhere between Caladan Brood and Sojourner, somewhere in between those two, with a really, really high focus on nature. The release, well, like I mentioned, it has a really meditative leads and a really strong introspective state, and also it's quite hard to listen to this and to not find yourself picturing stuff like mountains, rivers and that sort of stuff. It's really great for you to listen when you want to relax a bit, and honestly I admire a lot what they did here because of those two contrasts, those meditative moments and those furious moments present throughout release, especially considering that this is a two-person project where you have Dylan Watson doing the drums and Malo Civelli doing everything else in the band. To finish about this release, I will definitely recommend you to listen to Celestial Horizon track 2 and Clouds and Feuds track 3. Track 4. Clouds and Feuds is track 4. Amazing, amazing release. Definitely one of my favorites from last year. Now, moving on. Another of my favorite releases from last year. I guess there is still some of this to talk about. This one is on a completely different note from the previous one, so let me just show you. So, Diocletian amongst the flames of a burning god. I will talk to you in a moment about this. Okay, let me just... There's a lot of stuff inside here. And there's also the booklet. There it is. I really like this booklet in this military codex sort of way. It's really, really cool. Especially considering the band it is. And the LP, just black vinyl. Like I mentioned previously, this came out in 2019, so last year. It was released through Profound Laura Records, and it's the band's fourth full-length. Before addressing what I like about the album, there is something that I need to address right away, because I believe it's a problem with this release. One would be expecting that after Gesunderen, after what they did on their previous release, this would be an amazing release. And don't get me wrong, it's a great release. I really like it. And like I mentioned, it's one of my favorite records from last year, if not my favorite record from last year, for that matter. However, after Gesunderen, it disappoints a bit. After that amazing album, there are some things that could have been done better, but considering the amount of changes that the band has suffered throughout this 5-year period, 4-year period from Gesunderen until this one, somewhere around there, so it has been a long while since they put out something, suffered a lot of changes, and that shows on the record. However, not to dislike the record, like I mentioned, it's incredible. And Impurath, one of the new members, if you want to call it that way, he has been with them for a while now. But Impurath vocals do not disappoint, man. This guy was on Black Witchery. This guy knows his stuff about war metal. Diocletian know their stuff about war metal, so you know it's a good album just by combining these two things. The album is relentless, is furious, is what you would be expecting of true war metal release. The riffs feel menacing, feel aggressive. The drums are just completely vicious drumming, incredibly furious. And listening to this makes you feel like if you were under attack constantly. It's like if you were in the middle of a battlefield. The guitars keep that good old dance tone, although I believe it's not as dense. Again, it's impossible not to compare to Gesunderen, and I believe that's the, let's call it, Achilles heel of this release. It's because they did something too good with the previous one. Not that this is a bad one, but the previous was just too good. And well, that's about it for this release. It's a good release, it's a really great album, and in some, like I mentioned, menacing, aggressive, it's relentless, and incredible riffs. It's what you would expect of a great war metal band, of a great war metal release too. By the way, I believe I haven't mentioned that yet, so sorry for that. These guys hail from New Zealand. Just to finish, songs I would recommend from this release, definitely the opener, Nuclear Wolves, love that song, and Invincibility Through Strife. There is something on that riff, on that chorus. Jesus, it's like I mentioned, it's aggressive, okay? It's aggressive, it's intense, it's menacing, it's Diocletian, and it's what they do best. Although, they have done better. Just that little note there. Still one of my favorite bands, and one of my favorite releases from last year. Now, moving on to the last release I'm going to address today. It's from a band that I discovered recently. Okay, it's not that I discovered recently, it's just that I started to pay attention recently, and I'm really sad for just paying attention to them recently, which is Drowning the Light. Just show you. Oh. There you go. And just finish up. Okay, this album is Cursed Below the Waves by Drowning the Light. It's their 15th full length, and I believe it's the most recent full length they put out. It came out in 2018. And I don't know if I mentioned this already or not, but he hails from Australia. I say he because this is a one-man band, and what a band. Like I mentioned, I am really sad that I discovered them quite recently, or that I started to explore their discography quite recently. I haven't found yet a release which I do not appreciate. Cursed Below the Waves. The album, it's literally what the title says. First things first, production-wise, it's really muffled. It feels like if you're inside something. Literally, like I mentioned, the name is perfect. It's literally as if you were drowning within this muffled sound. The drums are sometimes quite hard to hear. I know that for some people that is a turn-off, but on this particular release, on this concept, I really enjoy that. I really like what they did, because it fits the concept of the release. It's a depressive album, it's sad melodies, it's haunting tones. The synth, when it appears, is just to give it a more depressive and a more mournful sound. And all this within this muffled production, it just fits. It just fits perfectly, the production with the theme, with the release, and that's why I like it so much. The vocals, well, this guy is amazing. Asgoth, I believe it's his name, is an incredible vocal. And like I mentioned, the only thing that feels a bit short on this release can be the drums. But it's not that the drums are poorly executed, no. It's just because the production-wise, they aren't as clear as they could be, but I get why they did that, and I am glad that they did that. So, like I mentioned, to sum it up, it's a raw production, it's really depressive, the leads really help to set the mood for this release, and it's in its own unique way, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful release, and that I would recommend anyone to listen to, and especially pay attention to this band, because it deserves it, and it's a really good band. It's just amazing. From this release in particular, recommended tracks. Let me just... Track 1, from the Ocean, the Ancients Return. It's just incredible. There's this little moment with a bass line, incredible, incredible. I really like that passage. And I guess track 6, Cursed Below the Waves. It's also an amazing track. And the release throughout, it's an incredible release. I would recommend you to listen to it in its entirety and to not skip a single song. But if you want to know what the album is all about, I guess those 2 tracks can sum it up in a way. So, with this being said, I guess that's it for today. It really releases as usual. With that being said, you know it's the usual. If you enjoyed the video, share, like, subscribe, everything else. As far as the videos, I guess I'll see you on the next video. Until then, keep your horns up.